Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this month's salesy or process-related webinar on a year to remember. Let Laserfiche tell you what's left to do using document inventory and checklists. We're going to go ahead and get started right away. A couple of housekeeping items. Everybody will be on mute for the duration of this webinar. Please type any questions you might have in the question box. Slides and screenshots are available upon request, and this session will be recorded and available through our CDI YouTube channel within a day or two. Today's agenda is pretty short and sweet. We're going to first talk about the components required to do document inventorying. And then we're going to walk through a couple of demos and examples, and then end with our resources and questions from there. So when you are leveraging Laserfiche to assist you with identifying which documents or tasks are needed, that is a tool that requires workflow. In a lot of instances, we pair that with Laserfiche Forms as well, because Forms is a little bit more user-friendly than leveraging Laserfiche workflow and templates. Additionally, this data population and being able to identify which documents are required could be something that we pull from an external database or just from your Laserfiche folder structure. And then, of course, with any workflow or automation you build out in Laserfiche, you can incorporate emails for either reminders or sending a task list of things that need to be completed. And so today, when we jump into the demos, which is next here, we're going to take a look at what the workflows look like as well as the automation. So let's jump out of here. So I've got two processes that we're going to walk through today. The first one is going to be vendor onboarding. So when you're doing an inventory or planning for an inventory checklist type of workflow, you always have to have a starting rule. So what is going to get your process started? And that can be any number of things. It can be a push, again, from an external database telling Laserfiche, hey, something's happening. It can be the submission of a Laserfiche form, either internally by staff or externally by a vendor or an outside party. It can also be the addition of a workflow document or a document getting archived into your Laserfiche repository. So really your process can start any number of ways. It's just a matter of, how you need that flow to kick off. So both of ours are going to start from a Laserfiche form. So I'm going to go ahead and just start this off. And so in our vendor onboarding scenario, somebody internally is getting ready to do some new purchasing and they are going to onboard a new vendor. So we're going to go ahead and onboard Canon. So if I had any of these documents, I could go ahead and upload them. And you'll notice in this particular form, we have multiple upload buttons. Now, when you're planning for Laserfiche to recognize your document types, you can do that again any number of ways. So by segregating out the document types in separate uploads, we can control the metadata that gets applied. Additionally, you have some other tools with workflow and you can build some other custom workflows or maybe use quick fields to identify document types that come in and apply metadata to the documents once they are uploaded into the system. So we're going to go ahead and just say, oh, I've got the W9. We can go ahead and submit this. And so now what's going to happen is Laserfiche workflow is going to send out an email notification to our vendor, letting them know, hey, you've got some stuff to do. And then staff or myself, I can just sit back and relax until I get some other sort of notification. So let me just pull up what that email could look like. So here's just a quick example. Again, anything you see or any of these flows that we see today, they're all customizable. So new vendor required documents, it emailed to the email I had submitted. The following documents are missing for onboarding for Canon. So I still need your insurance certificate and contact details. And so they can go ahead and click this link to get brought to a form that they would then submit. I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste it because I'm in my demo environment here. And so now your vendor has a form that they can go ahead and submit and upload additional documentation to. So they're going to upload the contract detail and then their insurance certificate information. As a reminder to when you are collecting documents from external parties, you can identify, what document types you'll accept. So if you only want PDFs or Word documents, you can set constraints around that as well. So these aren't required, but I'm going to go ahead and fill them in anyway. So we're going to click submit. And what this is going to do then is submit back to Laserfiche and archive into the folder structure. And then from there, it's going to kick off our next steps. So again, somebody internally started the process with a quick form, a couple of fields saying, hey, get this process started. We are going to onboard this vendor. And then accounting just sits and waits until they have all of their information in order to process the next steps. So let's jump into the Laserfiche repository quick. And here we're looking at the desktop application of Laserfiche. And if I go into my vendor onboarding documents, we'll sort by creation date. We can see here created today was the folder for Canon. And if I open it, we can see that the workflow has taken our documents that were named something very random and went ahead and renamed the file. It just did that through an auto filing workflow. And then if I take a look at what happens next, it went ahead and created a forms task for me. I'm going to jump into forms. Because all of our required documents have been received, we've got a new task for vendor approval. And so all the required documents have been received to the vendor folder. And so I can approve, reject, I can have this go through whatever flow essentially that I would want from there. So I'm just going to go ahead and say approve, get that cleaned up. So if we go in to take a look at what this process looks like, I just want to show you quick. I'm going to go into vendor onboarding. And this process here and the processes that I'm showing you are done through an on-premise deployment of Laserfiche, but this can also be achieved in a Laserfiche cloud environment. The activities that are selected may be or might have a slightly different name, but essentially you can do the same type of process flow. But essentially, our form was submitted, and it just waits until the workflow has said that, hey, I've received all of the documents, and then it creates a task, and then it gets approved and files into the repository. So we have just kind of a basic flow with Laserfiche forms, and then we have that tied in as well to Laserfiche workflow. So again, when that form is submitted, a workflow kicks off and it's retrieving the variables on the form, and then it's essentially waiting for these document types to come through. And then when the document types come through, it assigns a token and those metadata. If documents are still missing, it will email out a notification saying, hey, these documents are still missing, whichever ones are missing or not. I'll show you a better example of that when we jump into the second process. And then from there, once it's changed and updated, it sends that notification back to the forms task so that it can go ahead and continue on its process. So that's kind of how the two of them work together. Let's actually jump in now and take a look at the HR process. So this one will be able to show you a little bit more how it looks real time. So we're going to onboard a new employee. We're going to do Tammy, Bob, I don't know. We're going to go ahead and switch this to myself so that I get the email notification. So again, your new hire onboarding process can happen any number of ways, but like many processes, and take a minute to think about any process that you have that might require you to verify that you've received certain information, you can tie into a process like this. So it's keeping track of which documents you need and when and what you have, and easily displaying to you what you still need. So we're onboarding this quick form, filling out a couple fields. And then what it's going to go ahead and do is automatically bring me to an onboarding checklist. So Tammy Bob, we are onboarding her. We're going to make sure we're getting her a facility tour and issuing her badge. So I went ahead and taken action on those things. And then we still need all of these documents, but I only have her W-4 right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just upload this W-4 and then click submit. And so it's going to refresh my task. It's going to call onto workflow and say, hey, workflow, what have I received? I see we've got a new employee getting onboarded, and then it knows kind of behind the scenes again that we have to take action on something. So simultaneously, it's also sending out a list of missing documents. So hello, Tammy Bob is missing the following onboarding documents. So the I-9, direct deposit, and emergency contact sheet. So this can go out to any number of people, whatever you might want it to be, or a reminder to your new hire employee saying, don't forget your forms of ID on your first day, or whatever it might be. So if I refresh here, we'll see that we have an updated task here for HR. So if I go into this task, the system now has identified that I've received a W-4. So let's try that again. This time I'm going to go ahead and submit that W-9 or the I-9. Guys, attach that document, submit. So again, what's happening here behind the scenes is every time I submit a task or refresh a task, it's emailing me a list of what's still required for onboarding documentation. So now we can see here my email has been updated. When I refresh and my task comes in, we'll see that my task is still requiring me to ensure that I'm collecting the additional documentation. And this information can come in again a number of different ways. So instead of submitting it through a Laserfiche form, I could go into the repository and refresh here. So Tammy Bob is our new folder created. We can see our new documentation has been added. And if I grab something from my desktop to bring in here, and so maybe I'm just scanning in some documents while I sit down with that new hire. And I'm going to go ahead and apply our onboarding documents template. This is the direct deposit information for Tammy. And you can have these names, of course, be drop-down lists, whatever you might want them to be. Click OK. And so that's going to import that document type into the system. And so again, just another example of how you can add the content in, and then it's going to go ahead and update our task for us. My demo environment is a tiny bit slow here. Let's hope it doesn't crash on me. Here we go. So that artifact is in there. Of course, you can have it go through a renaming workflow. In this scenario, again, I did not do that, but we could. And then if I go in here, we can go ahead and do a refresh. All right, we're just doing a quick refresh here, and then it's going to update and identify that, oh yes, we have received another document. So we'll log in here. Now we added that document via the repository and the workflow updated, and now our task sees that, okay, we've received the direct deposit. We need one final document, that emergency contact form. We're going to go ahead and upload that, submit. And then again, all the meanwhile, I'm getting an updated email letting me know which documents are still required. So you can have those reminders go out, at whatever increment you want. Onboarding checklist has been completed for Tammy Bob. We've received all of the documentation required. And we're all set. Everything has been kicked off. And then again, it will carry on through whatever additional flow you might need from there. So let's take a look at what this process looked like in forms and workflow. So this is very similar to the vendor onboarding process where, again, it's kicked off by Laserfiche form. Here, a task is created right away, and then it saves any submitted documents into the repository. The workflow is called where it queries through the documents with the template applied, and then updates the forms task to check off the appropriate document type and notify us as to what's still remaining. So then if we jump into our workflow, here's our onboarding one. So our forms is calling onto this workflow, retrieving the business process variables, which is the field information, assigning token values to those fields so that we can go through each and identify that we've received each document type, reminding us or sending out an email reminder for which documents are missing if we haven't received one of those token values, and sending that along. And then again, updating the forms task from there. So you can have Laserfiche updating you via email. You can have it updating you via a Laserfiche forms task. In some instances, maybe if you're using a CRM like Salesforce or Tamarack, you can have Laserfiche create a task list of items for you to complete within your CRM. You can also have Laserfiche display information that's in your repository for you in a slightly different way. So let me show one other example. Again, here at CDI, we try to use Laserfiche for everything. And so we have this handy Laserfiche form that is set up to query our employee folders and then identify which documents are missing just by an X or not. And so you can use a Laserfiche form to display that information for you at a glance if that's something you're interested in, instead of, continued email reminders or a task list. And then from there, you can have notifications go out to staff members as needed. All right, so if I jump back in to our PowerPoint here. So I just want to remind you of some of the resources that are available from here to find more information or see other use case examples. But we've got our CDI client portal. So if you're an existing customer, you can log in and you can sign up for any of our future webinars or user groups that are coming up, as well as find how-to and training documentation. We do have consulting services available, our YouTube library, and all of these other resources, as well as the Laserfiche resources available to you. So the Solution Exchange, Aspire training if you want to go ahead and learn how to build workflows on your own, things like that. These getting started guides, I highly recommend. There's a workflow and a forms one. And so definitely check those out if you're new to Laserfiche workflow and want to learn more. So then from here, I'll open it up to any questions or put it out there if anybody has any ideas of, processes that they could see this used for in their organization to share with some of the others. So go ahead and feel free to chat into the questions box, and I will address anything I can or get back to you if I can't. So not a lot of questions, but some comments. Appreciate the kind words on the process, and if you did log in a little bit late, we are done. Today's demo was pretty short and sweet, but again, it has been recorded and will be available through our YouTube library within the next day or two. And then here is the slides on the CDI resources if you're interested in some of these links. Of course, I can send you just these couple slides so that you have them for reference later on as well. So watch for that if that was a request. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up from here. I'm not seeing any new questions come in. I appreciate everybody's time and joining us today. Again, this demo or webinar was recorded and it should be available maybe by Thursday on our YouTube site. And so watch for that. I believe you also get a email notification when it's available. And if there's anything else you might need, don't hesitate to reach out. This is my email address, and then I can assist you directly. Thanks again.